이거 마이크 대고 해야 하고 싶어.
Sorry. What's the matter? Why do people bother to read? I mean, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't feed you, it doesn't give you money, and it gets you to nowhere but wonderland. From a practical sense, it's useless. Then again, what is not useless? Talking with friends, playing computer games, posting pictures on Instagram. It's all useless, yet we love doing it. Perhaps the things that we value the most are all useless. They don't have any utility, but they keep us going, give us pleasure in our lives. And in this sense, I think that reading is perhaps the most useless of all. It's as useless as piecing together a puzzle, because that's what I think that reading books really can be, a puzzle. So why did I come to think that reading can be like piecing together puzzles? Well, I used to be a very picky reader. That is to say, I didn't read anything unless it had spells and magical creatures in it. So you can guess what my bookcase must have looked like. All fantasies. Ernest Hemingway? No thank you, I'm not interested in authors in the school reading list. But a small shortcoming of the kind of light fantasy that I read was that they are an end to themselves. Everything is finished within the series, so all the puzzle pieces that I got from reading these looked rather like this. All the same. So I got boxfuls and boxfuls of the same piece, so I didn't recognize that they were part of a puzzle. But I was quite happy as I was. After all, they say that one doesn't miss what one doesn't have. But then I happened to come across a piece that looked at first like any other out of the box, but turned out to be something like this. Last year in class, we were reading the book Life of Pi, and I got interested in religion because the main character has 3 religions. So, by a teacher's recommendations, I read Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. It was a great book. It had great story, great plot. I liked the characters and the expressions that the author uses. Also humorous. I just loved it like I loved my other favorite fantasies, and it was going to end at just that. But I happened to Google it and found loads of book reviews that all said the same thing. It was a great book, one of my favorites ever. Okay, I read up to that point. But every line was so inspiring, and an idea rose in their minds with every new sentence that their books got shabby for all the scribbling in the corner pages. I was like, what? And looked at my book, still good as new. And I got into a state of mild shock. Yes, it was a great book. I loved reading it, but you get so much to think about, then you don't have clean space left in your book. I felt dumb. All I had to say was, wow, that was a great story. So I went to my teacher to whine a little bit. Teacher, why is my book still so clean when other people's books don't have clean space left because they scribbled inspirations all over it? Well, he gave me the answer. There's something called intertextuality. Intertextuality. There's something that connects it to other works of literature. So you have to know other works and connect it with them to fully understand what the author is trying to convey. And frankly, although I did call myself a lover of literature, I was still quite the amateur because I was a picky reader. I didn't read anything but fantasies. So it was no wonder that I didn't see anything beneath the surface. What the teacher said about intertextuality didn't exactly light a bulb in my head. It was more as if he had gathered dry leaves there and handed me a magnifying glass. I thought over the concept of intersexuality for a few days, read small gods again, still left it clean, and held up the magnifying glass to the sun. I wanted to be inspired. I wanted so much to see what all these other people were seeing, yet I couldn't, because all I had was the piece in my hand, without anything else to connect it with. So I got very annoyed with myself, as in, what did you do for the last 18 years, not reading even a single book out of the fantasy line? So even though I was quite annoyed with myself, I'm more exasperated to admit, and a bit embarrassed, that I didn't take immediate action to get myself the knowledge necessary to recognize the connections between books. In truth, I was shying away from it. I thought it was too much to do, something that only literature lovers from birth could do who've read, 1,000 books. So even though I had recognized that every book is a puzzle piece that can be linked together, I just couldn't bring myself to try interlocking the pieces myself. But in class, I realized that it wasn't impossible at all. Even someone like me could do it. We were doing literary analysis activities when a character named Biri was saying, "You've been here with the regular old Tower of Babel." Well, the literary analysis question said to find the idea that is conveyed by mentioning the Tower of Babel. Well, I knew what the Tower of Babel was, and I could see why it might have been mentioned. By mentioning the tower, Biri's view of books as useless things is emphasized, because everyone in the tower speaks different languages, and in Biri's view, everyone in books speak different things as well. They never agree with each other, which is why they are useless. It was a connection, intersexuality, and I could actually find it myself. It wasn't as hard as I'd imagined it would be. So when I realized this, I started to look for other connections when I read books as well, and found that it wasn't impossible, and I could find them even when there weren't analysis questions to point out the way. That was the start of my intersexuality. It wasn't exactly the same with real intersexuality, because the connections I made weren't often what the author had intended. But it was still something that maybe could one day become the more advanced form of intersexuality. So I guess what I want to say is, it's not a high, discouraging mountain to climb. You don't need strong muscles or immense strength to piece together a puzzle. You only need to pick it up and enjoy playing with it. I still marvel at how fun it is to come to a moment of recognition, that moment of aha, when I realize that I've seen something similar to this in another book. And do you know what the best thing about the puzzle of literature is? It will never end, we'll never finish it. Give me the extinction of humankind so that new books wouldn't be written. Give me the extinction of humankind and a few thousand years to read, and I'll still be unable to finish the puzzle of literature. And even if I did, I could just take it all apart and reassemble it a whole new other way, because literature puzzles never have a given answer. Isn't it just marvelous to think that we have a puzzle we can keep playing with forever until our deaths, that will never have a missing piece? Thank you.
That was an interesting speech about how we enjoy reading. But tell me, I'm curious about where your puzzles of connection started with religion led to.
As I said, it started with Life of Pi and Small Gods, and I guess it led me back to fantasies, because in English literature, religion is very often connoted, so especially Christianity. So, have any of you ever seen the movie Ender's Game? Anyone? No one? Okay. It's a famous movie, and it's actually a series of books, and in that book there are connotations to religion. So I guess it led me back to fantasy. It's everywhere.
Okay, thank you.